a world of mystery. A world so dark that you can barely see. A world where the macabre becomes a reality, and your reality becomes the strange and unusual. This is an October edition of the Cain Stevens Paranormal Super Show.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Cain Stevens Super Show. I am, you guessed it, your host once again, Cain Stevens, and we are talking the ooky spooky paranormal. We're back at it. Those of you who've listened to the show know that we basically have a paranormal element to it all the time, and this show is going to be no different. I have a guest on, a good friend of mine who's on another podcast with me, Brooke Johnson, kind of connected me with this guy, told me that he had some crazy things happening at work, and it was at the University of Nebraska, and I was super excited to kind of talk about this because I know that dang campus is pumped full of ghosts. I mean, there's just too much history there, but I don't want to give up too much of it. I just want to dive right into it. So with that being said, let's welcome our guest, Joe Sampson, everybody.
Oh, thank you.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well.
So are you currently working at are you currently at this particular place that we're going to talk about right now, or is this something that happened fairly recently?
No, I've been there since last December.
Okay.
So and still got about another month and a half there.
And this is Neihardt Hall, right? Correct? Where it used to be the women's residence housing many years ago.
Yeah, something like that, and then it turned into like the honors program housing.
Mm-hmm. And so, so you working at Sampson Construct? I mean, you guys go into these buildings. I mean, I was an electrician for 20 years, so I'm pretty sure I worked on some of you guys' jobs, to be honest with you, from time to time. And you know, when we went into these old buildings in the university, there's always kind of a feel to it. And I mean, I don't believe every place is haunted, but some of these halls and different things, like I was always wondering, like, man, it felt like someone was always watching us. Or why don't we just kind of preface by saying that you've had actual personal experiences and your crew on this job, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I've had one myself.
Okay.
And three other employees that have been there with me. They've came out and said they saw something or witnessed something and didn't want to go back into that same area of the building again.
Well, give me your personal experience, the one that got you personally. I'd love to hear it right now.
Well, that one was back, I want to say last January, and I was the only person on the job site. Nobody else was there. I was inside the west entrance of the Raymond building, which is the south building at Neihardt, and about 20 feet inside the main entrance is about 2:30 in the afternoon. And I was just looking down at my phone, and it's just dead quiet in there. I mean, this building is completely demoed to the shell. Just looking at my phone, not a noise, nobody in there, and it sounded literally like somebody took a pair of bells and rang them right behind my head. And when that happened, it was so just defined that I jumped, turned around, and when I saw nothing, I kind of looked down at my phone. I thought, you know what, it's 2:30, day's over. I'm leaving until somebody gets back here tomorrow morning.
And have you ever witnessed anything like that in your life before? I mean, have you ever been in a haunting or something like that? Or is this the first time?
No, not like that. I mean, when I was growing up, and my mother can contest to this, when I was growing up, like probably about 5 or 6 years old,
Mhm.
I would walk out of my bedroom, and I had my bedroom to my parents' bathroom or bedroom. There, the bathroom was in between. And every time I'd wake up, I look at the back door and I always see a figure. And this figure always had these massive shoulders like wings. Well, at that same time, I was going through a very, very bad illness that almost took my life back then. So I always like tell people back then, I swear I saw my guardian angel.
Yeah.
Going through that time of this illness I had. But up until now, no, this thing at Neihardt Hall, that was the first time I ever had something like that happen.
And did people kind of allude to the idea of it, like when you started on the job, because you've been on the job now for a long time? Did anybody ever allude to the idea that it was haunted, and you just kind of like brushed it off, like whatever?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. When I first got there, I met some university people. And they would say, this one electrician for the university, he made a comment that, if he ever got called, to Neihardt Hall when it was still occupied,
Yeah.
when the university was still using it, and all the electrical stuff was in the basement. And he even told me, he goes, if I got a call there, I'd say, hell no. Unless somebody's going with me, I ain't going in there. It's in the basement. We know that place is haunted, yada, yada. So yeah, no, I was told this stuff about, a day or two after I got there that, this place is haunted. And there's names of people that died in there and stories behind it. And I'm pretty sure we have had a couple instances where the two ladies who have died have showed signs.
Okay. You want to elaborate on that a little bit? Is this with some of your workers?
Yeah.
Or please.
Yeah, no, it's not just the employees there that told us about it, but if you watch that clip of a night at Neihardt, it talks about a lady from Ashland, a medium they brought in.
Mhm.
So there was a girl named Sarah who, okay, let me back up. So that building used to be an infirmary.
Right.
And this girl, Sarah, apparently died in the basement in a closet. She had pneumonia or influenza, sorry, and she had passed away inside of a closet. And then there's another story that this lady goes on and talks about a girl named Cora who hung herself in the attic. And then there's another story. So you had the Love Raymond building, which is the horseshoe shaped building on the north.
Right.
And then they built Raymond. Well, then there's another story about a guy named George. Well, they think this guy named George, who they would see half-bodied man floating through the courtyard after they built Raymond, was because when they built Raymond, they dug up a burial ground. So they think George is from this burial ground, got exhumed, whatever, and kept his purpose there. But since I've been there, there hasn't been any sign of the Sarah, except for noises and footsteps and whispering from other employees that I've had there. But about 3 months ago, I had two guys that had to go up in the attic. And that's where this so-called Cora hung herself in the attic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're familiar with the Neihardt complex, the Raymond building has got two towers that stick out of the roof. So if you go in the attic, there's these two vertical ladders that go up in these towers, kind of like a crow's nest. Well, they went up there one day and they came back down and they said, hey, Joe, we found a noose, a legit noose tied up in the rafters.
Wow.
And of course, I'm asking questions like, to take a picture with it or of it, yada, yada. He goes, no, he goes, actually, I took my knife and, cut it free. And I go, why the heck did you do that?
Right.
So I went up there a couple days after and I saw the rope hanging there. And it is a rope that is so old and so frail and just so weathered. I mean, it wasn't still tied up, obviously, because he had cut it.
Yeah.
But I thought, wow, I mean, okay, that story, he's seen a legit news. And that came from two of my employees that were up there at the same time. So they see this legit news wrapped up. Then I had another guy. Well, no, that same guy actually was in the North building a little over a month ago. And he was by himself. And if you go around the corridor to the west end, it gets really dark right now. I mean, there's no power, no electricity in this building whatsoever. And he came out just looking white as a ghost. And he asked me and this other guy if we'd been in the building. And I go, no, what's going on? He goes, you guys haven't been in there? I go, no, what's wrong? I said, you see a ghost or what? He goes, you guys were not in that building. I said, we've been outside on the south side all day. And he starts telling me the story. He's just walking down this corridor and all of a sudden a figure stopped right in front of him. And then it made him just, lock his feet. And then it just went away.
Wow. So he was white as a ghost once you saw him,
Oh
was
yes. Oh yeah. He came out and I'm like, hey, I said, Ben, we'll go back in there. We'll go, you'll have somebody in there with you this afternoon. Don't worry about it.
well, if they're electricians, that's when you send your apprentices in, like that's the best part
Yeah.
of being the foreman or whatever, is you kind of send the peons in to the haunted area.
Yeah.
But
Not the last one I had though was 2.5 weeks ago.
okay.
And I had a guy in the same building, the north building, and he was in there just kind of covering up some hole openings. And I walked in there with him at 7:15 just to show him what to do, whatever. And then after that, I had not gone back into that building. He comes out at 11:50, right before lunch. He walks up to me and he asked me the same thing. He goes, "Hey, were you in that north building today, walking through the link?" I go, "No." He looks at me, just looks down at his feet, and he looks back up. He goes, "Are you sure?" I go, "No, Luis, I haven't been in there." And I said, "Why? What happened?" He goes, "Well, 3 different times, Joe, I heard footsteps coming down that link and whispering." He goes, "I thought it was you just walking through doing like a check or something on your phone or something." I go, "No, buddy, I haven't been in there whatsoever." I said, "What else happened?" And I started chuckling because I mean I had that one experience, and then I have these other guys that are having this experience. So to me, it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of funny when these guys start hearing stuff. And he goes, "Well, when I heard that for the third time and I walked over, I didn't see nobody. I started walking up the stairs, and these stairs we have them covered and protected with plywood. He's walking up this flight of stairs, and he told me that when he was walking up these flight of stairs, he heard footsteps that were so apparent that it made him turn around because he thought I was walking behind him.
Yeah.
And when he turned around, it didn't see anybody. He came running out of the building.
I can only imagine, man. I mean, this is pure terror. Like I'm getting chills just, and I investigate paranormal locations, but I'm getting chills just thinking about it. So I can only imagine. Like I've been in places too like that, but I mean to experience footsteps that heavy, right? That you
Mhm.
actually turn around and think somebody is physically there would be completely terrible. That literally almost never happens, to be honest with you, in any paranormal location. I'm not saying it doesn't, but I mean, this is some pretty serious stuff. Has anyone ever complained of being grabbed, touched, pushed? Do you think that it's like a negative type spirit, or they're just trying to get your attention?
No, I don't. I mean, I guess I haven't followed this as much as you have, but from what I've experienced with me and the guys that have been on the job, I don't think it's a negative one. There was the same guy that said he saw like something walk in front of him
Mhm.
and then leave. Um, I get it was probably a day before that. He was down in the basement. No, I'm sorry, first floor of that building, and he was running a jackhammer.
Yeah.
Got done with that, took it over to the south building into the basement area, and had it. This is an electric jackhammer. It probably weighs 60, 70 pounds, and it sits on a two-wheel dolly. Well,
Right.
he had at the end of the day, and I watched him put it in this area. He put it over in a certain area. The next morning, he called me. He goes, "Hey, come down here right now. You got to check this out." So I run down there and I look and I go, "What's going on?" He goes, "You saw that jackhammer sitting over here yesterday before we left." I go, "Yeah, where's it at now?" And he goes, "Turn around." It was about 20 feet to the north, moved, just moved. That's it.
Wow. Wow.
That's it.
Yeah.
And there was no signs of somebody coming through windows or busting open the doors we have padlocked. It was that jackhammer on his two-wheel dolly was moved 20 feet. And I had seen it the night before. We both walked out together
Right.
and that thing was relocated.
And even
It
with the
was,
dolly, I mean, I've used jackhammers exactly like that on jobs, and so I know how. And I'm a big guy, but I mean, even moving it with the dolly takes something. So I can only imagine. Like, it's not like kids are getting in there and moving this thing, or if they are, I mean, they're really trying. You know what I mean? It's not that.
well,
That's really crazy. If it were the entity moving something like that, I mean, that's pretty wild. And this guy needs a
no, it
raise.
is.
for
And not only
continuing to
that,
do all this stuff, man.
but in that same area, that's the basement where this so-called Sarah died
Yeah,
when it was in the infirmary down there, and the closet door where she apparently passed away in
right.
was about another 20 feet in that same room.
Wow.
So I don't know. And then there's stories I've been told from people from the university where there was incidences in the past where if there was any like pennies laying around,
Hmm.
that the next day you'd come back and they'd be stacked up. So right now I actually have 6 pennies sitting on a windowsill in the courtyard side right now. I'm going to see if I walked in there this morning. I hadn't been there since Wednesday. And I
Yeah.
walk in there, they're still sitting in the same formation. But if I walk in there by myself and those things are stacked up, there's a good possibility my ass is not going back in there again.
It's finally time to call it quits at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how long do you guys still have a lot of work to do in this building?
No, we don't have anything to do inside it. It's
Oh,
just gutted. It's a gutted shell, concrete to brick,
yeah.
completely gutted. And we're just doing some kind of tidying up, make it look presentable for curb appeal until the university decides what they want to do. And then we're out of there. So I'm kind of hoping mid to late July, I'm out of there.
Yeah. So, I mean, so you kind of said that you had some things happen as a kid that you can't really explain. But let me ask you this. What do you think? Are you a big believer now for sure in ghosts and why do you think that they stick around?
Oh, I don't know if I'm a big believer. I'm not going to say I don't believe
Yeah.
in spirits, coming around. No, I think it happens. I think it all depends on how much you want to believe in it, as
Right.
far as how much the individual actually will come across it. Um, as far as as an individual, if a certain individual doesn't believe much in it, they might not ever experience it. But yeah, no, they're out there. Spirits are out there for sure.
I think so. I mean, I think there's just too many people throughout history. I mean, I'm talking all of, think of every religion talks about, okay, even if you're not a religious person, just look at it as a historical book of some sort, right? They
Hmm.
all
Hmm.
mention spirits, they all mention ghosts and all these things. And so it's like, can everybody really be wrong on this? Like there is something to it. We just can't really figure out what it is, right?
Right. Exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, get ready to rumble with the Ultimate Beard Care Showdown. Introducing our headliner, the one, the only, Squatch.
Oh, yeah, Mean Jim. Squatch in the house, and I'm here to tell you about beard products that'll make your whiskers the talk of the town. If your beard's ready to take on the world, you need the power of our beard balms, butters, and oils, brother.
That's right, Squatch. Let's kick things off with the Beard Balm of Legends.
This beard balm is like a body slam for your beard. It tackles those wild hairs and smooths them out, making your beard look like $1,000,000. No sweat, brother.
What's the scoop with the beard butter?
Oh, brother, it's a game changer. This butter makes your beard softer than a cloud and as easy to manage as a well-oiled wrestling machine. Plus, it's got a scent that's as sweet as victory. Oh, yeah.
And let's not forget the beard oil.
The beard oil is the final knockout punch. It hydrates, shines, and smells like a championship belt made of cedar and pine. Your beard will be the 1, 2, 3 of any match.
Where can our fans score these unbeatable products?
You read my mind, brother. Head on over to elegantsasquatchco.etsy.com and grab your beard gear. And listen up. Use the code SUPERSHOW and get a jaw-dropping 20% off. That's right, 20% off. Your beard's about to go from 0 to hero, brother.
That's elegantsasquatchco.etsy.com and use your code SUPERSHOW for 20%. Don't wait, make your beard the ultimate champ today. Ahoy, mateys! Christopher Columbus here. You know me. I discovered America, or at least that's what the history books have been saying for years. Anyways, I have a little confession to make. My compass quit halfway through the trip, and I got lost at sea on the way there.
Ahoy, Captain. What direction should we point the boat?
Shut up, you fool. I'm in the middle of a commercial here. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh, yes. When we arrived on land there, the natives were all decked out in their cool Viking gear. They said these big, smelly, bearded guys came, hung out, then split with all their cool stuff.
Hi, it was a weird day.
That could have been our cool stuff. We could have claimed all this great treasure and all this pirate's plunder.
But, sir, how will we steer the boat if we don't have a compass?
Well, this next trip is going to be different. I'm heading to Slying Tattoo to get a compass on my hand. After that, everything is coming up Christopher Columbus.
Ahoy, sir. That new ink looks great on you. After I swapped the poop deck and greased the hootenannies, I think we're going to be back to speed and... Oh, no.
What is it now, you buffoon?
It appears as if America's shores are just on the horizon.
What? How could this be? I've been pointing my arm in the same direction for days. Well, looks like this tattoo compass is broken too. Guess I'll have to head back to Sly Ink for that dolphin lower back tattoo I've been wanting to get. Well, looks like our native friends are waving us in, but oh, wait, they don't look very happy. Well, until next time, friends, if there is one. So, I really do appreciate you coming on the show and talking to me about all this. I think it's important to tell stories like this because I think it makes it more like real. Like a lot of people think that a guy like me, I talk about it all the time, is kooky, or maybe some of us are nuts. But stories like this, where you're just a regular guy working a job, you're just telling the story for what it was, and you're telling me like exactly what happened to you and your workers. So I really do appreciate it, man.
Oh no, definitely. Like you asked me earlier if I'm a big believer in ghosts and whatever. And no, I'm not one of those big, I think wherever you go, you're going to see him or I got to worry about him. I'm not a huge believer in ghosts, but I know that, it's possible. Yeah. And now that I saw it, especially the bells right behind, I'm not joking you. If you could imagine somebody behind you right now taking a small cowbell and just ringing it right behind your head, that definite. And there was nobody on that site that day except my own personal self.
Yeah.
And it was that definite. I'm not shitting you. I walked out. I called it a day.
I don't believe you, man. My jeans would have been completely soiled by that time.
But then to have employees come out, and the one guy that came out when he heard the footsteps on the stairs and thought I was walking between the links.
Yeah.
He's a Hispanic guy, and he came walking out, and his name's Luis, and that poor kid, he's only like 24 years old. He came out, and I started chuckling. I go, "What did you see a ghost?" I said, "Dude, you're Hispanic, and you're turning white."
Right, right.
I mean, his eyes were just huge, and when he found out that I hadn't been in there, I'm like, "Dude, you're not the only one. I'm sorry. You don't have to go back in there. Don't worry about it."
And what a thing to have happen. I don't think I ever had anything, and I was in some pretty crazy buildings. I don't think I ever had anything that stands out to me that happened like that. Like I have friends who worked at the Capitol that claim that they saw things. I mean, have you ever worked at the Capitol or had any experiences there or heard any?
We are working there, right? We've been there for 4 or 5 years.
Oh, wow.
I have luckily I haven't had to be on that job site because it's just a horror story from what I hear. But
yeah,
we've been there for 4 or 5 years.
Well, I have a friend they have this like secret staircase or whatever, and I covered this a long time ago, but he basically quit that night. Like he was cleaning in this staircase area, and he looked down like a couple flights and saw a woman standing there, and it's scared the hell out of him, obviously. So he goes flying down there to see, because she's not supposed to be there, and she immediately vanishes, and he's like, "All right, I'm good." Turns his keys in, and he calls it a job. He never went back to work.
I don't blame him there, But the story I was talking about earlier about when I was little, so it's no kid. I can still see this very, very like it was yesterday. And it was every night when I would get out of my bedroom, go to the bathroom, and straight to the back door. You see this big figure, looked like it had wings on it. Well, at that same time, I was going through this illness that the doctor told my parents I was going to have a 50-50 chance of living.
Oh, wow.
That illness nowadays is called H. pylori. Back in the day, it was called Campylobacter.
Okay.
It's an intestinal disease and I was 5 years old at the time. My brother was 2. I had lost so much weight, I was wearing my brother's clothes. They said this came from overseas because we had just came from the Bahamas and Nassau. So I went through doctors at Bryan Hospital and finally went to Children's Hospital in Omaha. Well, the only thing that saved my ass was from what my mom told me, and she's a NP now. They got a hold of some doctor in New York City. Well, come to find out, back then, that was 86. I was the second child recorded to ever have that disease in the U.S. and the number 10th U.S. citizen.
Wow.
So, and then they said, well, if you don't get it, in 7 years, you're clear. Kind of like cancer patients. If you don't get it after X amount of time, you're probably clear.
Yeah.
Well, there's no shit. Back in 17, I'm working with my dad in Papillion, and I started puking blood.
Oh, no.
So I rushed my ass back to Lincoln, go to the doctor. They did some blood work, and they said, you got H. pylori. And I go, what the hell's H. pylori? She goes, oh, you're fine. It's just a little stomach virus. So I called my mom, who, like I said, is an NP. And she goes, Joe, are you shitting me? They said it's H. pylori. I go, yeah, what's the big deal? She goes, that's what Campylobacter used to be. And they renamed it to H. pylori because they found medicine, whatever, that could cure it. And it's just stomach virus. Well, back then, the stomach virus that came from overseas, they didn't know what the hell it was.
Right.
So 37 years ago, when some kid got it from the U.S., they brought it back from overseas. They had no idea what it was. And yeah, I was a second child in the U.S. I mean, it's not a statistic I'm proud of.
Yeah.
Second child in the U.S. at that time, I was reported to have this Campylobacter from overseas.
That's fascinating, man. Where did you guys go where you think you contracted it?
It was the Bahamas and then Nassau Island.
Okay.
But that's after that happened or before. So that had happened. I got sick. And at that time, I was, like I said, every time I go in the hallway in the middle of the night, I'd see this figure, but it never freaked me out. I'd see this figure stand in the doorway, from the back porch. I just looked, see it, go to the bathroom, come back out, see it, go to bed. And I told my parents this all the time. I saw this thing at the back door, and my mom always told me, goes, well, you've probably seen your guardian angel. Well, it wasn't shortly after that I got admitted to Children's Hospital. Last thing I know about that or remember about that diagnosis, I had this big tube getting pulled out of my throat because I was intubated for several days. And that was it. And then everything's fine.
You've never had like any dreams where it was prevalent or anything, just then?
Oh yeah, I've had dreams over the years. It's probably been a number of years since I have. But yeah, no, it's came back to me once in a while. I've never seen that figure.
Yeah.
I still swear to this day that whatever that was looking over me at that time.
I think so, man.
So I think my time as a guardian angel is over. Now I need to be really smart and not do anything stupid because I think I got that shot.
It's like a cat, you're on your last lives as a cat at this point.
Well, my parents were told back then I had a 50-50 chance of living.
Yeah.
Whatever that was, it might have helped me. So my 9 lives are over. I just got to watch out for my ass now.